So, yesterday, our resident astrologer, Tara, and I jumped on Facebook Live in my group, Wild Wisdom Collective. And we're going to do this now for each moon wisdom segment for the new moon and the full moon. And I'm going to try to pull the audio and share on the podcast so we can reach more people and share this wisdom. I wanted to do it last night, but as you'll hear in the podcast, that my full moon energy is crazy town right now, and I've had so much on my plate since having to close the yoga studio almost 4 weeks ago, and preparing for another 2 weeks as well, and not having any staff. And there's still lots of things to do, stuff that I would at least delegate to staff, answering questions, emails, those sort of things. So I've been busy doing that, plus all the other things I do. Plus, all of you know I have a baby at home. So you'll get to see Josephine. She makes an appearance many times throughout this episode. Or actually, you won't see her unless you jump into the Wild Wisdom Collective Facebook group and watch the video. But you'll hear her. So she's an intricate part of my life, of course, not only as my daughter, but in everything I do. I can't separate it out. And we danced Koya this morning via Zoom together, and she danced the whole time with me and stayed awake. I thought she'd go to sleep, but she was having so much fun. And so it was her and my dog and the computer and myself in the front room of my home, and so you've just got to flow with it and enjoy it. And we had a blast, and I still got the benefits of dancing a Koya class and going inside my heart and reaching in there and listening to what is my true heartfelt desire. So know that even though many of us are at home, and some of us don't know what to do with ourselves, know that there's a lot of energies at play, which Tara and I will talk about, and we're going to share some yogic approaches as well. Especially towards the end, I share the yogic approach to dealing with heightened anxiety, uncertainty, and that sort of stuff. But you can always hop into the Wild Wisdom Facebook group and join us there, because I share a lot of things as well. So I won't make you wait any longer. I hope you enjoy this full moon in Libra conversation between Tara and I, and all this insight. And we'll try to be more timely when I'm not in crazy town mode. But it is what it is. What can you do? Enjoy. Welcome to the Wild Wisdom Podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa, and this is your space to learn more about the importance of slowing down, taking care of yourself, and the mind-body connection. And most importantly, how to reclaim your health by listening to your body's innate wisdom and reconnecting with the earth. UPS man. So little crazy, but I'll go ahead and let you take the lead and start, Tara, and then I will go get her a bottle and see. Okay, and then you guys will see her. She'll be on my lap.
Worries. All right. So, women of Wild Wisdom Collective, welcome to your full moon edition of Moon Wisdom for this installment. We thought it might be fun to go live with it rather than just, loading up with paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs through. We might just have a discussion about it. So, tonight we have the Libra, and I have for us, here are your pages and pages and pages of notes that would normally make up a great big post, but we're just going to talk through it today. So tonight at Indiana time, 10:35 p.m., so that's U.S. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Libra super full moon. You might be seeing this referred to around the traps as a rare super pink or pink super full moon, something of that nature. And it will glow as it rises tonight. And depending where in the world you are, that glow might be like a, a rosy pinkish hue, but it might also be like an orangey golden. And the super full moon is actually going to be as it's rising. It will appear its largest to you as it's rising. So again, in Indiana, which is where both Alyssa and I are, in Indianapolis, if you look to your eastern horizon around 7:56 in as clear a spot as you can get to, the moon start to pop up and up over the horizon, and that glow about it. As it gets higher in the sky, it's and when it's fully risen tonight, of course it will have its lovely, beautiful silvery sheen that we all love to get from. So there's some timing for you. So it's 100% full at 10:35. I was reading over in some Australian, astrology discussion groups that they're 15 hours ahead of us. So the moon is happening on the 8th for them, and it will be exact in Queensland, which is where I spent 9 of my 13 Australian years, at 12:34 in the afternoon. So the moon will be full at 1, 2, 3, 4. And as someone who also does numerology, I love that. It makes me smile and giggle and be like, oh, everything's in order, even though everything's also in chaos. Which, I think quantum physics tells us that chaos is the natural order of the universe we live in. So perhaps everything is in order whilst we're in chaos. So the moon tonight is the Libra full moon. Now it is at 18 degrees of Libra. Okay, that is the position within the zodiac wheel that Libra is in. And we'll talk about more about what that looks like in charts. And Alyssa and I are going to share, we're going to chat a little bit about what's in each other's charts in terms of where the full moon is happening for us and how we're feeling it. But yes, so as you will recall from our previous moon wisdom installations, full moons are about completions, manifestations, and endings. Okay, so full moons are always an emotional time. I'm sure we all hear through, just general chatter around the world that, there's more arrests on a full moon. There's more babies that are born on a full moon. Emergency runs get overrun on a full moon. Especially true because tonight's moon is a supermoon. Now, supermoon is an astrological term. It is not an astronomical term, and I've got the astronomical term for you. But what it is, what a supermoon is, it means that the moon is at its perigee. So it's the closest in its approach to Earth. Okay? And so supermoons, from the perspective of Earth, which is where we all happen to find ourselves right now, appear 7% bigger in the sky. Geez, doesn't that 7% make a difference? Because they always look so huge, especially when they're rising right over the horizon. So 7% bigger, and it will be about 16% brighter because of its added closeness to us. So for those of you who are science geeks, which I'm sure many of us are, whether outwardly or inwardly, the astronomical name, so the science name for what we're experiencing today is called a perigesyzygy. And again, like I was saying before, the best time to see the supermoon is as it's rising. So the moon rises at 7:56 Indiana time, which is U.S. Eastern Standard Time tonight. And I would certainly recommend to all of us to, if you love looking at the moon, or if you're feeling a bit zany, extra emotional because it is a full moon, get outside at 7:56 with your bare feet on whatever patch of grass you can find, or if you're lucky enough to be near an ocean, for goodness sakes, get out with your bare feet on the wet sand and just stand under the moon and, just do some breathing, some pranayama. And I'm sure Alyssa can give us, some good, simple standing pranayama that we can do just with hands outstretched to the moon and Breathing in her light and letting go of anything that's not her beautiful light. You're going to, of course, be helping to engage a parasympathetic nervous system whenever you engage in deep breathing. And you'll be soaking in all the juicy, good negative ions from the earth when you put your bare feet in connection with Pachamama, with earth, which is balancing and wholesome and just good for all of us that have human bodies or that have bodies here on earth at all. And balance really is one of the key words for this super moon, this super full moon, because this moon is happening in the sign of Libra. Now, Libra, what does Libra represent? So Libra is the sign of relationships, and it's also the sign that feels a need for being in partnership. It's not a want, not a desire, it's a need for Libra. So this moon absolutely is about relationships and partnerships, and Libra is ruled by Venus, so make no mistake, there is some lovey-dovey, everything that feels good with Venus air about this as well, although that's not the only thing. We'll get into that more here in a minute. But Libra, it's about relationships, and the values that Libra holds are beauty, balance, harmony, compromise, justice, and peace. So going out tonight to do some physical balancing through our breath work, through putting our feet upon the earth where we live, is just perfect moon medicine for today. And I'm sure, like me, many of you are seeing all the wisdom flowing through that is absolutely encouraging us to really be in connection with earth right now, through all the mayhem that the humans are experiencing, is to get out there and notice the trees, notice the grass, feel the breeze on your skin. All of those things are going to help bring about balance, not only for your physical well-being, but for your mental well-being, but also, for the great oneness that we all are, because we're all on the same planet. So, one thing I like to share with the full moons is the various names that we have for the full moons. And I will admit to absolutely taking a shortcut today. I normally go and look at all the farmers' almanacs resources online and get to gather up all the indigenous names. But the resident astrologer for Koya, Virginia Rosenberg, I know our Alyssa is a big fan of, and so am I, handily put together a list of all the moon names for us already. So I just thought I would read those out to you, and again, just go, how perfect that today's moon is Libra. So some of the names of this full moon is Mermoon, Moon of Self and Other, Moon of Me and We, Moon of I and Us, Us versus Them Moon, Separate Yet Connected Moon, Fight and Make Up Moon, Moon to Agree to Disagree, No Judgment Moon, Post-Facts Moon, Moon of Vigilant Solace, More Beauty Moon, Team Togetherness Moon, Common Enemy Moon, Moon of Partners and Traitors, Agitated Calm Moon, Moon to Effort Towards Peace, Chrysalis Crisis Catharsis Moon. Try saying that 3 times fast, eh? Coherent Creative Creature Moon, Legions of Light Moon, Moon of Eerie Grace, Pink Elephant Moon, Mind Melt Moon, and Moon of Imaginal Cells. So there's just a few of the names that this month's full moon has, and I just one that it's happening in Libra, and Libra is the sign of partnerships and relationships, and this emphasis on balance. And we're having this full moon in the time of global pandemic, and some of the names that exist already for this moon. The Moon of Me and We is the name out most to me personally amongst all of those names. And because it certainly feels like that's exactly what we're all doing right now by focusing on our individual safety and making she's so darn cute, making the individual commitments to stay home for the protection of the greater community. We are also focusing on we. Um, so I love the balance of that and how it keeps. Libra is the symbol of Libra is the scales. So about staying in balance. Of course, even a sign about balance itself can become unbalanced, but it's just perfect always. And I wish you could make this shit up, but you really can't. There's no way I could come up with all of this in a few hours preparation this afternoon. So we know that it's in Libra, and we know that Libra is about relationships, balance, harmony, peace, love, and that Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus is not divine feminine, is about beauty, peace, harmony, love, all of those things. When we sum up Venus, we think sort of lovey-dovey, right? So make no mistake, this full moon is about love. It is about those things. There are a lot of other things at play, and that's the juice of the astrology that we're going to get into. There's a lot of geometry happening with this, a lot of aspects happening, and they're hard and they're challenging. And my hope is in sharing about all of the other aspects that are also happening, that we'll all feel a little less like crazy people, and we'll all understand that it's happening for us. So I mentioned at the start that the moon is in 18 degrees of Libra. So this tells us where to look for where this moon is impacting us most directly and most personally in our own chart. So, so what you want to look at is which house is your Libra house in your chart, and which planets do you have in that house, and therefore which planets personally might this moon be interacting with for you. Okay. And how are those interactions happening? Are they tense? Is it tense interactions, or is it helpful, harmonious interactions? Keeping in mind that I'd never like to use the words good and bad in astrology, because it just is, and it's all potential. So it's what you do with it, because it's all happening for us. So in saying that, we're going to talk about, if Alyssa doesn't mind, where this moon is happening for me, where it's happening for Alyssa, and I suppose we're each going to share a little bit about how that's been impacting us as individuals, because as we know from our previous discussions, we feel the effects of these lunations 3 days before the event and 3 days after. So this energy is with us for a full week. We're just sort of reaching the peak of it tonight. So, Alyssa, can you remember where this is happening for you?
I think you said it was like 2 degrees of Pluto or something like that, or which I don't understand completely, but and my moon sign is Cancer, so it's yes, it is funny, and so I know that the full moon like has an extra intensity for me.
Yes, like on 10, and then we add super moon to it, so then like on 11 or 10 by 10 perhaps even.
Yes, well, it feels like it for sure.
For Alyssa, in her chart, the moon is passing through her 6th house. Now, the house in our charts is a particular area of life, and the 6th house represents a few things: bodily health for one, but also our work life. So what we do for work day in, day out. Now, this is not our career. This is not necessarily our career or our reputation. That's on the opposite side, over in the 10th house. But this is sort of the day in, day out machinations of our work, okay, of our working life. But and then also physical body health, like how is the health? What is the health of our body? And of course, Alyssa does it's sort of like, oh, isn't that interesting that this lovey-dovey super full pink moon is passing through that house for Alyssa, because she's been talking recently about specifically how she's using her training and her professional skills to launch her $1 a day immune boosting program tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah, it starts tomorrow. But there's still time to enroll.
I was going to say, is today. Can we still sign up today? Because
yeah, today and tomorrow, actually.
Yeah. I need to. Okay. Is that like sign up by midnight?
No, tomorrow by midnight tomorrow. So technically 11:59, I guess, tomorrow night. So yeah.
So it's just sort of so perfect that you're launching with Rita, the great coach, nutritional coach that she is.
Yeah.
This focused program on what bodies are dealing with right now. Just, within the energy of this moon about balance and about love, the moon of me and we, and how we're embracing being safe as a collective me, so that we're safe as the entire we. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alyssa has as a planet in her 6th house, she has Pluto, and Pluto represents, well, frankly, I don't know how to make this not harsh, death. But as we know, when we embody that wiser self, that death is not scary. Death is just ultimate transformation. So Pluto is about transformation. It's also about power and intensity. And the moon is transiting, and that means it's moving through her chart and rubbing up like really, really close together within 2 degrees of her Pluto. So we call that a conjunction, and you would even call that a tight conjunction, because there's only 5 degrees to be a conjunction, and the full moon is hitting within 2 degrees of your Pluto.
Well,
so it's smooth sailing for you right now, I'm guessing, right? And everything's a breeze.
No. Well, what's interesting?
Are you seeing those themes pop up for you?
Yes. Well, I can't go into complete detail everything that's happening, but we're in this time of uncertainty for, globally, because we're dealing with things that, a lot of us have never dealt with before. But I have other things going on that are in flux, but it's not a challenging flux. It is a true life-death cycle going on for me. So when you told me that it's 2 degrees from Pluto, and that's what that means, that made total sense to me, because even though I don't all understand it, and that's why I like knowing. I love when I find out, oh well, that's what's happening in my life. So it's definitely, I have a lot of things that are shifting and coming to an end to open up and rebirth some other part of my life. So the next chapter, for example. So that death theme is very present. And weeks ago, I mentioned on another live that I was dreaming about death. And it wasn't like a scary, oh, I woke up, someone died that I loved, that sort of stuff. I knew because, of especially the work like Dr. Estes talks about in Women Who Runs with the Wolves and that sort of stuff, there is this death, life, rebirth cycle. And that's change. It's constant. And so I knew it was just a symbolism or a message that, this is what's happening, and to be okay with it. And my trust in a greater power is actually pretty strong. It's been built over the past few years. But what I've noticed, and I told you earlier when I read one of my horoscopes, is like my anxiety came out of nowhere a few days ago. And I thought I was just going with the flow. I was like, actually, I'm in a good position. I've got this going on. I feel okay. At least now they've passed stimulus packages, for example. So that'll be coming and that sort of thing. And then I was waking up at 3 a.m. And luckily she was sleeping all night, but I was waking up at 3 a.m. Let me put her down. And here you go, honey. Woo, here we go. And dreaming deep. And then I was just like, gosh, where's this anxiety coming from? And then, so I'm like, I need to step up my calming practices because I haven't had a chance to do as much yoga, physical practice as I usually like to do, or even because my mornings have just, the past 3 weeks since the yoga studio closed, I have no staff to delegate to. So I'm doing everything with the virtual classes and the emails. So on top of working part-time and then doing my wild wisdom stuff. So it's like, and being a mom. So it just
and you're doing a great job, just by the way. As your friend, I want to say you're doing a great job. I get my little emails through from the yoga studio a couple of times a week, and I'm just like, she is just a champion. So kudos to you, honey.
Well, thanks, Sarah. I try. And then, my mom still comes on Mondays, which is helpful. But, I know a lot of people out there, if they have kids, are dealing with, no one coming over and having to work and that, so a lot didn't change for us in that capacity. That's why I didn't feel as crazed because I already worked mostly from home. And, but I know a lot of people, like their whole lives have turned upside down if they were used to going to work and then now they're at home and have the kids and that sort of stuff. So, but anyway, like just a few nights ago, it was just high anxiety. And I was like, what in the world? So I was like, yeah, I need to step up and use my yoga tools. And I'll get back into a rhythm. Things just sometimes throw us out of rhythm. And then you just I always say you have a toolbox and you kind of just come back to your tools. But it was the anxiety. And then I told you last night, I woke up at midnight and I was like, was there some psychedelics in my Mexican food? I was like, what am I dreaming about? Like it was vivid, like very lucid dreaming sort of stuff. And it wasn't bad, but I would say it was sort of anxiety and me like defending and like protecting and making sure everything was okay. And then I woke up again at 3 and I was like, what in the world is happening? And but I knew it's a full moon, and then the energy beforehand, and afterward, it was like, this is all related, and I just need to come back to the earth and my tools and that sort of stuff. And it's good for people to know that it's not always us, like just why am I being crazy or whatnot. It's that we are often affected, and especially usually since my period came back. I call her Aunt Martha since I was a kid or teenager with my friends. Since that came back, I've been synced up with the full moon too. So I have to check my app, but I'm sure that's all swirling about, plus the energies of it. And I'm just like, every day's kind of a shit show right now.
I always call that when I lead on the full moon, and I'm even though we're similar in age, I'm at a different spot in my life, and I'm moving into perimenopause. And so sometimes, woo, surprise period.
Oh, yeah.
Even sometimes with, surprise period, on the full moon. And I notice, and we talked about this in one of our early full moon wisdom shares, was that these lunations, particularly as women, when we bleed on these lunations, heighten our intuition. And it's just like, you know, on that level 11, you just don't miss anything that's floating through the ethers with you. And I do like to say that all of this happens for us. You know, and we've talked about that. I think even in the podcast, and on the moon, we can attribute this to the moon, or we can look and go, oh, of course I felt extra crazy. It was a full moon. And for me, the influence is just, of course, the moon influences us. Look at what it does to the tides.
Yeah.
You know, it controls
like,
the tides on
totally
the planet. You know, we're 70% water. So for me, there's no, it's, of course, divine. But then going, oh, I wonder where this is happening for Alyssa, since we're going to be talking about this today. Going, oh, how you feeling? Like crazy making. Yeah, well, okay. So since your moon, the sign that your moon is in, is already ruled by the moon, you feel the moon happening at that times 10 anyway. And now this is a super moon. Libra, and what we have to remember, because Libra is the sign of balance, okay, so what's opposite Libra? What's opposite Libra is Aries. Aries is fire, and so on this spectrum that we're in, they're both cardinal signs, so both charge ahead, take action, and they're the initiators, they get things started. So there's this axis of, you know, balance and peace and lovey-dovey with fire and war and aggression and masculine. Like, that's literally what's we're, you know, complete opposites right now on the spectrum. And again, how freaking perfect, because Libra is about balance. So isn't it interesting to sort of think about, well, what balances out peace and harmony? Is more challenging aspects, challenging parts of our nature. So I always think that astrology sort of explains what we're going through, rather than gives us something to so that it is good for Josephine, who is clearly loving our conversation. She's our woman back there. I love it. Is
she screams too much, I might have to mute for a second. This is life, real life here.
That throat chakra.
I live in a duplex, so I feel sorry for my neighbor. Share a wall.
Well, you know, we live where I live with my partner Michael. We live in a duplex as well. I don't know if you have nicknames for your wall mates.
Oh, sorry, I missed it.
We call our neighbor Stompy.
Oh.
He's the nicest man, but he's heavy-footed on the stairs.
Oh, yeah. No, usually, I mean, unless we raise our voice, which I guess I have been lately. Like when the dog wakes her up and I'm trying to finish something and I'm like, oh, you know, like I needed to get that done because I'm still a working mom, you know, and so I still have to pay the bills, and especially right now, and so, you know, I'm glad I still work part-time, but it's just sort of like, oh, so yeah, the intensity has been crazy.
Yeah.
And I feel, and I know what it is, but it's still, it is like, it happens. There's no controlling it. Like, you can only do things, and I talk about this a lot. You can do things to help ease things, like the anxiety I've been experiencing, you know, using tools to help ease that. It doesn't mean it's going away completely until the energy shifts.
Yeah. So. You know, you can add to that on top of your other tools. You know, go when you get a chance. You know, go put your feet in the grass. That's
usually what I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm breathing.
Yeah, I usually do that. I probably won't at what time were you saying? 7:56. Usually when we're going to bed by 7:30. Well, I'm putting her to bed by 7:30. So that's why we didn't do this. Facebook Live later tonight, because I told Tara, I was like, my evenings, like after 6, sometimes after 5, I mean, they're gone. Like I'm making dinner and putting the baby to bed, and that's pretty much it. So I'm hoping to put my feet in the grass tonight. The front yard is not covered with dog poop, so
Well, there you go.
and it has more grass in it. The backyard needs picked up, and one day I will get to that. Sometimes you just have to let it go.
Well, for right now, you know what? It's fertilizer.
It is. It is. But I would like to make it nice. Everybody's like gardening and things like that. I'm like, that has not happened. Like I have not had time. And I don't feel guilty about it. I'm just like, whatever. But I do want her to enjoy the outside at some point. So
Yeah.
we'll just go to the park.
Yeah. It's there. Early in the morning, like you said, right?
Yeah, early in the morning when nobody else is there. No other humans.
Well, for me, all of this is happening through, and I think this is very interesting. So,
I'm gonna.
okay, gotcha. So she's gone on mute there for a little bit. So for you, it's happening in the 6th house. For me, it's happening in the next one. So one, I find it fascinating just how different lives can be, but how aligned women can be. So yours is in the 6th. For me, it's in the 7th. So for me, it's the 7th house. The 7th house in our chart represents one-to-one relationships. It is also the house that Libra rules. So the full moon in my chart is passing through, the full Libra moon is passing through its own house. So also feeling a little bit of extra intensity from that, and having extra emphasis in my life on the matters of that house and that sign, of particularly of partnerships and relationships, matters of balance, beauty, peace, love, all of that. And for me, I'm also experiencing a conjunction, a very close conjunction, not quite as tight as Alyssa's conjunction with Pluto, but this moon is conjuncting my natal North Node. Now, the North Node is not a planet. It is a mathematical point in the moon's orbit, I believe. And the North Node in astrology represents our destiny. It's our destiny marker. It's what the greater purpose in our lives is here. That great reason why we're here. And for me, it's pushing on that North Node. And part of my destiny is figuring out how to be in partnership this time around. And so, yeah, the last 24 hours in my life with my partner, the intensity of relating to each other with all of this madness that's going on is certainly being felt. And there has the tension between us with the situations we're having to face amidst global pandemic and concerns have been heightened. And it's sort of like, oh, of course we're going to feel this now on that dichotomy, because I am Aries moon and Aries rising, and my partner's got 4 placements in Aries. So we're sort of, between the two of us, way Aries heavy compared to being more balanced on the Libra side of things. But this full moon is a perfect opportunity to work through relationship challenges, to focus on that moon of me and we, the moon of I and us, the moon of, even fight and make up moon agree to disagree. And that's what this moon really is asking of us in relation to the way that we go about in being in relationship, being in partnership. I wrote some notes down here. Let me find which page I wrote them on, because it was about, here we go. So this moon is, as we know, about some of the more lovey-dovey qualities of Libra and its ruler Venus. So yes, this moon is about love. And this moon is also a chance here to find our own sense of inner balance. It is here to teach us how to make love within the darkest of hours. So whether that is the physical act, or whether that is loving each other from afar, or even how do we do love when it's dark times. And then how do we awaken peace in times of trouble. So what this moon is going to do, and the next thing I want to talk about, it's moving away from how it is impacting individually, say for me or for Alyssa, and more to what's happening broadly at the universal, at the galactic level, is that it is bringing up for us extremes in how we go around the extremes that we go to around compromise and unity with one another. And it's bringing up true acknowledgement of what it means to coexist, obviously in our day-to-day relationships, but then more broadly at the global level, literally what it means to coexist on this planet, and learning perhaps again how we do that. So there's just some insight from the personal side of it, from your collaborators in Moon Wisdom. Did you have any questions or further insight you wanted to add to that, Alyssa?
No, not really. I plan on sharing. So, well, I guess two things. So since this is related to balance and relationships and that sort of thing, so I wanted to just mention and tie that in the practice of yoga, not the physical practice. So oftentimes people think yoga is just a physical practice, and it's, I'm sorry?
Just the bendy bits.
Oh yeah, just the bendy bit. And so they think it's just that, and meditation's separate. And yoga actually encompasses 8 limbs. While I won't list them all out, their movement, the asana practice, is just part of it. But there's also concentration, meditation, because concentration is actually the precursor to meditation. And then there's the breathing. And you would actually look at the movement part to prepare yourself for breathing, and to prepare yourself to concentrate and then meditate and go deeper. And that's often how I teach it as well. But what the point is that it's about creating a relationship with yourself. So how yoga helps balance us is through that creating a relationship. So then we become more self-aware through all of those practices I just mentioned. Some people come straight for the physical practice, and I mean, that's how I started with yoga. I didn't know any more about it. It certainly didn't go, I'm going to be a yoga therapist one day. And it just unfolded over time, and with my experiences and that sort of stuff, and being open to those. But we start to get some insight and create that awareness within ourselves. That's what creates the relationship. And then we start to feel better, and then we want to heal. And so it's just, and then we might do more practices and go deeper. And eventually we're connecting with something truly deep within ourselves, whether that's the spark of divinity within us that Vedic philosophies and yogic philosophy will say that exists, and other philosophies too, or whatnot. But we're connecting with deeper layers of the body and our body's innate wisdom. That's why I call it wild wisdom. I mean, for many reasons. And so, so there's that. And then in general, because, I mentioned I'm experiencing anxiety, and I wasn't like I mentioned, I was like, got this, I trust. And anytime I would practice some things, I just did a Facebook Live in the group about calling in something you want and letting go. And when I practiced that, I'd call in trust and let go of worry, because my trust is probably 95 to 99% most of the time, a trust in some higher power. And I had to build that over time. Oh, that's another long story, but there's still a little bit, where you're like, and you get a little worried and anxious. And so I need my tools just as much as anyone else does. I mean, that's why they're tools. And the more we practice, the more we're prepared when things come up like this, but we can just engage them. So there are different pranayama practices. So breathing practices, of course, there's movement. So where the therapeutic aspects come in is that someone who's brand new to yoga and even meditation, and having high anxiety during this time, they may not want to be silent and have this meditation or do restorative yoga, which might be really helpful because that's the opposite effect. So you meet people where they are. So you want a vigorous practice that is designed well, that is going to meet the anxiety where it is and help calm. That's why Shavasana, the final relaxation, is so important, because someone can have an intense practice and you kind of have this peak and then calming down, and sequencing as a teacher is very important for that. So it can be a 20-minute practice. It can be an hour and a half practice. And but that's where the physical practice can be very helpful. Now you can go deeper. There's all kinds of stuff. But sometimes people need just a more physically demanding practice if they're used to going all the time. I was at the auto parts store yesterday to get some oil, for example. I didn't know they were open. I tried to order it on Amazon. They sent me the wrong thing. So I had to go there. I know. I was like, this doesn't work. So, but the lady told me, she said, nobody knows what to do with themselves. So they've been in here buying car wash. And she's like, I'm glad. She was glad she still had a job and she could work, and they had the 6-foot social distancing stuff going on. But she was like, nobody knows what to do with themselves. And so then, someone who's used to doing, who doesn't know what to do with themselves, needs something more active usually. And of course you can go outside and walk or run and that stuff too. If you're ready, so when it comes to meditation, for example, a guided or a meditation with a visualization, or even a moving pranayama, moving breath practice is very helpful. And I will link to, in the comments, one of a guided meditation that I have as an audio file already. And then I am popping in the group every week to share some things. And I'll plug it again, but tomorrow starts our immune boosting health program, and it will include yoga therapy approaches as well to ease anxiety, because easing anxiety is a way to have a healthy immune system. So it'll be food as medicine, yoga therapy approaches, and just kind of the whole system. And how you can have a healthy immune system. But yeah, so there's different approaches. Everybody's not the same. Often what I share, people think, oh, this way to breathe is helpful for energizing, which typically in the spring is what we need to expel things from our lungs. But it might be too much right now if you're feeling high anxiety. You might need to bring it down and then take walks and that sort of stuff to help with dispersing that energy. Yesterday, I was talking to someone, and she said she has 2 twin girls who just turned 1 in March. And she has her own business and works from home, and her husband's working at home now too. And she's like, she had her outfit, we're on Zoom, and she had her outfit on to go run. And she said, sometime today I'm going running. And she said, my kids have been waking up in the middle of the night, and so I'm all out of whack, yada, yada. And I said, you need to run, because if you can calm yourself down and expel, so running can expel that energy, that anxiety. If you can expel that, then your kids will actually reflect the calm. And most likely sleep through the night. So her business has exploded so I have a couple people I know who their businesses have skyrocketed because she works with investors and marketing and that sort of stuff. But and then, while others have plummeted. So her anxiety is not necessarily about financial stress. It's more about, how do I handle all of this? And plus the kids at home and no nanny, that sort of stuff. So, I just wanted to share those examples as, there's not an absolute way. And what I wanted to share was, when I teach about breathing and pranayama, there's these generalizations of like, oh, well, this breathing practice will help energize you, or this breathing practice will help calm you down. But what really happens is 25% of the population experiences the opposite effect. So you have to, you try different techniques, and, with these general guidelines of this is calming, this is energizing, but you also meet where you are. And that's why it's helpful, to learn these things, whether you're doing virtual classes now or working one-on-one. And then notice your experience and see if you like it, see if it helped, and then try something else if it didn't, that sort of thing. So those are kind of my recommendations, to find balance, because balance is something you create, and it's different for everyone, for sure. So.
And I like how you say, okay, well, this is what it's intended for, but we know that 25% don't experience it that way. And I like how even the yogic approach fits in with like the astrological theory. It's all well and good to know that it's the Libra full moon. It's better to know how to fix you greatly. I love how two seemingly disparate modalities are so complementary. And so people having a full moon time like Alyssa's having, where anxiety is running a bit high, I wanted to say, yes, this is a moon that is about love and relationships and beauty and harmony and peace and all of that. And so we may have the opportunity to experience it as a little bit of a breather, of a moment of, it is that, and it is also some super crazy making times. Now that's like the pot calling the kettle black. Like, of course it's super. Like, have you even been out of bed during these 3 weeks? Of course it is. Scratching my nose there. At least I'm in my own house. But what I wanted to say is, yes, it is all of those things, but it is also a full moon about death and intensity and power. So Alyssa is not only experiencing that, we all are, because the other things that are happening at the galactic level, in the place and space that we're in, literally in the universe of space, is that we are experiencing an intense square with the moon to Pluto. So all of us are having something go on with Pluto at that sort of great, everyone at the greater level, right? And along with that square to Pluto, the moon is also squaring Jupiter. So Pluto, whilst an intense sort of like intense shadowy energy from that planet, we get an intensity from Jupiter as well. One, because the angle it's making is square. And a square is a hurdle, so it's a point of tension, something that has to be overcome. But Jupiter, the intensity that Jupiter brings is expansion, right? Jupiter is the king of heaven. It's the biggest planet in our galaxy. So we've got super full moon squaring Pluto, the planet of death and intensity and power, and squaring Jupiter, the planet of expansion, the king of heaven, and it's a super full moon. So it's like levels and levels upon levels and levels of intensity right now. And so, yes, beauty and love and peace and harmony and all of those good things, but also death and power and expansion and And so those are not the only planets adding to at the moment. We also have on the other side of the chart from where the moon is moving through, on the other side of the galaxy, if you will, we also have our Mars, our galactic Mars squaring, so another square, again, another hurdle, squaring Uranus. Now, Mars is the masculine if Venus is the feminine, okay? Mars is anger, it's war, it's action, right? It's the balance to Venus, right? It's the sign, it's the planet that rules Aries. And so we already know that Libra and Aries are on this axis that balance each other out. So, of course, Mars is in there. So Mars, masculine anger, war, and action, is squaring Uranus. Now, Uranus is the planet that brings chaos and forward-looking sudden change. Okay? So sort of come in like a pendulum, right? And it feels chaotic and it feels messy. And I have a really strong Uranus placement actually in my 7th house. And you and I share that placement, Alyssa. We'll have to discuss that one day. And so,
well, I'm certainly feeling that intensity. So,
so Uranus being chaos, but it is a forward-looking sudden change. So again, it's that thing that's happening for you, though might not feel like it in the moment when the pendulum is swinging right on through. But grab a hold, and look for what's over the horizon, if you will. So I did want to make a point to say to everyone that is all of that is also happening in this pink super full moon, lovey-dovey relationships and all, isn't it great? And it's all happening under the intensification of a super moon, right? Of this perigee syzygy that we're experiencing. So will you feel lovey-dovey, and might you feel a little closer to your partner and want to reach out in more loving ways to the people that are around you? Yes, you are. Will you also feel agitation, frustration, intensity? Yeah. Might you feel a little bit of anger? Yeah. That's all happening for us right now too. So like Alyssa was alluding to, like there's tools in the toolbox to pull out. For me, this little bad boy is not leaving my side right now, just a piece of rose quartz. It was like the crystal of love, and it just normally is in the treasure chest. It's in the safe. I keep it in my bra. I've just got it next to me at the moment. It's not far from me at any time. It's an ally that I'm calling on. Another tool in my toolbox, along with going, hey, Alyssa, what are great breathing practices for us right now? Or, what's a pose that might help us shake off some of this intensity, is literally taking from our beloved Koya, the shaking practice. So if you're, that is one of the pillars that we do in Koya, which is, an intuitive, sensual, feminine movement class that both Alyssa and I, is how we met, and we're both fans of. But we take, 6 minutes in each class to literally shake it off. And we do it very intentionally in the class, that we shake it off after 6 minutes spent intentionally in the shadow, where we intentionally face shadow aspects of whatever we're dealing with on that day. And we sit in that intensity of shadow work for 6 minutes. And then we turn around and we go, okay, we have medicine for this. Shake it off. So if like Alyssa and 25% or more of us that are feeling the intensity, the tension, and of course we're all feeling it. It's a global pandemic. None of us have faced anything like this in our lives. Use that as a tool. Take that one aspect of a larger practice and incorporate it into your tool belt. Tuck it into your belt, into your pocket, and go outside. Put your feet on the ground and shake. Shake from your toes to the top of your head and back down. And Alyssa will tell you, and that's why I love hearing Josephine shriek. In a Koya class, when we shake, we shriek, we vocalize with it.
Mhm.
Our friend here in Wisdom, Wild Wisdom Collective, Dr. is, I love her. That's because we're going to vocalize, because she embodies that shrieking to let it out, to shake out the voice box as well. So certainly invite all of you to sit with what is. Yes, it's lovey-dovey, and yes, it's crazy making. And it's an opportunity, right, for us to sit with what is and use the tools. Pop back in here tomorrow when Alyssa brings us some guided meditation that she mentioned she was going to drop in. Reach out. You can reach out to me directly in the group or through my Facebook page, which is She the Shaman. If you want some insight as to, okay, well, it all feels like I can't point out where, we can look at your chart and find some insight for you. But yeah, and and lean on the tools that you have. Maybe you don't have crystals and yoga. Maybe you have tea or baking or reading or writing. Lord knows writing, is another way, like physically writing is another way to physically get it out, to shake it out. So whatever your medicine is, we certainly encourage you to embrace it at this time. And get out there and look at the moon, because it's going to be glorious. And even if you can't, see it right as it pops over the horizon, just get out there and, wonder at it and remember how lucky you are to see it. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Tara, for sharing your wisdom. And I will be joining, and I'll put a link in the comments. I'll be joining, I might have to grab her when she rolls around here. I'll be joining Susan's Koya class tomorrow morning. So Wednesday morning, let me grab her. Come here, Wendy.
So I would say for those of you in Indianapolis, but really for anyone, because they're being offered by Zoom now.
Yes.
Look up the Playful Soul, which is a community here in Indianapolis, and have a look at their Zoom offerings. I believe the Wednesday Koya is still being offered by donation or for free, even by Zoom at the moment. Susan Cotter, who is my neighbor, I love her, and also a shaman here in Indianapolis, just hosted her first one on Sunday by Zoom, and it was so good to come into community and dance, even though we were all in our own homes. And I bet it was
powerful.
Loads of Koya folks around that greater community offering things by Zoom right now. So, just Google it. And if you need some resources specific to Koya, reach out to Alyssa, reach out to me. We'll put you in touch with the folks that we know.
Yeah, and I'll put a link in the comments to the one with Susan Wednesday morning that I like to do, because I wanted to do Sunday night with you, and it just, evenings are hard, and so Wednesday mornings, that's what I used to do. So when I was pregnant, I did Koya, and of course I did yoga as well, but I did Koya, and so we'll share some links so you can find out what it is, because it is hard to explain, but it's great to gather with other women, and be vulnerable and connect to yourself. And so she, when she was in my tummy, was in every Koya class, and with Susan, and Susan holds such great space. So there's obviously other great teachers too. Betsy was my first teacher. But I'll link there, because I want to practice it tomorrow. Now that she's doing a Zoom, I can go, because I couldn't go in person because I didn't have childcare Wednesday mornings. So
not lost, even though it's virtual.
Of course,
as hard as it is to leave in person on Wednesday mornings, it was hard to go push the in.
Yeah, I bet. So yes, so if you're watching this live or listening, because I'm going to add this to the podcast as well, so people can enjoy this wisdom on audio. But join us in Koya. You can see Tara and I, maybe not every class, but and then you'll see Josephine in the background because that's, that'll be the challenging thing, is to go inward with baby having needs and that sort of stuff. I've had to gate my dog so that because she kind of sniffed at her, and then so it all is with this whole energy thing going on, and I was like, no, that cannot happen. So I had to gate her when she's in her little walker going around all over the place, running around.
Fun, just so, and I'll look forward to watching this back as well, just to see her zooming in, like,
while I'm shaking it off.
So great.
But those things that you mentioned, they're super powerful, like all of those things. And that's why I love Koya. I miss it. And that's why I'm so glad Susan's doing it Zoom, because I miss feeling that. And I need to come back in my body when I'm feeling such intensity.
Yeah.
So it'll be great to reconnect. And but we'll put some links in the comments for everybody, and we'll continue to keep posting, and just do whatever you can to what speaks to you and works for you to chill out.
Yes.
And just let this.
I'm so glad to hear that we still have another 24 hours to join the program, because when you announced that and your reason for making it, I got to get on that. And I just literally haven't sat down to register, so I'm so glad that I haven't missed out on that. I got a text from our dear friend Lindsay going, "Are you doing Alyssa's program?" I'm like, crap, I got to get on there.
Yes, that's why I thought, because we're also, it's amazing. Many of us are home, not everybody, because some people are still out in the workforce because they're essential workers, that sort of thing. Or you're working from home, you're doing things at home, and everybody's so busy still. Some people have been slowing down, but everybody seems to be so busy. I know we have, and I'm like, I want to slow down. But it just is what it is. And I thought it was slowing down, and then it kind of sped back up when another 2 weeks stay-at-home order was announced. But yes, so I thought that I would just leave it open all day. I'm getting everybody, like, I've welcome emails out and that sort of stuff for the food and lifestyle log, to start logging that. And then getting people into the private Facebook group and the online course, the first module available, and the welcome, that sort of stuff. And so there'll be time. And even if, we had a last minute enrollee, Friday or something like that, I would probably let them in, because.
Is it just, this is just my curiosity, is
Sure.
it a self-paced program, or I know you're doing it for a set amount of time, but.
It's for 6 weeks. And so, so we will launch a module in the online course each week, and then we will have a couple virtual gatherings via Zoom and some Facebook Lives as well. But it is self-paced in the fact that you'll go through the online course self-paced. And the food log is you can use it ongoing the whole time if you want. It's a food and lifestyle log, but it's also to help give some input into like something that Rita and I can talk about in our bonus Facebook Lives in the group, because we'll see it's not just what did I eat, it's when did I go to sleep, how did I feel, when did I wake up, how did I feel, because those all are applicable, especially right now. And then we can go deep into what that means in our bonus Facebook Lives, so which can be done live, just like this one, or can be watched later on a replay. So, well,
I'm really looking forward to that.
People have good. I'm glad you're going to join.
Give her, and she's such a great member of the Wild Wisdom Collective. So I'm excited for this next collaboration you're doing. Love it.
Yeah. Yes. And her recipes are amazing. Absolutely, they're delicious. Like they're whole food and delicious, and not overcomplicated, and not. Some may be, the only one there was only one, like the buckwheat waffles, that took a lot of steps that I made once. And, but they were delicious and kind of savory, but they're just whole food and delicious. And I will link I'm going to be sending everybody out soon. She was the first podcast I did because we've been friends for a while, and tells her story of having pneumonia 9 times as a child. And it's food and the mind-body connection that helped her heal. So
what a perfect set of lived experience and wisdom for this program right now. Like,
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
you're doing great things in the world. I'm so glad to know you and to be able to play with you in these regards. It's so great.
Well, and I'm glad to know you as well. I love to collaborate with people and share different expertise. I mean, that's why I work with Rita. That's why I work with you, because we all have different expertise. We all have our different lived experiences, like you mentioned, and different wisdom that we can share with others. So everyone has wisdom. Yes. That's my belief. And that's why when I interview people for the podcast, I share people's stories, their journey. It may not be every step of their journey, but, the summary of how they got there. Because, it's not like we woke up and we were like, oh, I'm just suddenly know all this stuff and I'm going to share it. It's like, no, we had to go through, and we continue to go through journeys and learn and that sort of stuff. Well, I'm going to have to jump off because I think
no worries, me too.
She needs a little nap. I think we need a walk. So. All right. Bye, Tara. If anybody has questions, just put some things in the comments, and then and we'll continue to answer and share more things and go connect with the earth and the moon. Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Happy full moon.
Happy full moon.
So, I want to hear from you. What did you think of today's topic? Direct message me on Instagram or Facebook, or better yet, join the Wild Wisdom Collective, my free Facebook group, and chime in on the discussion. I look forward to hearing your thoughts and insight. And if you love what you're hearing, please take a moment to click the button on your smartphone to subscribe. Or, better yet, write a review and tell me why you love tuning in. And maybe you'll be featured in our listener spotlight on a future episode. I cannot wait to see you again, same time, same place next week. Wild blessings.